After Gotham FC's victory over Washington Spirit in the NWSL final, the biggest question in women's football remains: what next for Trinity Rodman? This isn't just about a transfer, it's a battle for the future of the NWSL itself. Will Rodman be the next American star to leave for Europe, or can the league find a way to keep its biggest asset? We'll start this analysis as we would any other, though this first question does feel rather redundant. With that said, who is Trinity Rodman? Rodman is a 23-year-old American winger who plays club football for Washington Spirit in the NWSL, a club she was drafted to in 2021. She won NWSL Championship in her first season with the Spirit and has become a star forward for the USWNT, winning Olympic gold in 2024. And now her contract with the Spirit expires this month, with clubs across the globe circling the star. But what makes her so good? So let's begin by diving into the data, and the first thing I want to take a look at is the FBref Scout Report. So this shows Rodman's performance up against positional peers in the NWSL last season. And what we can see that immediately jumps out to me is that shots total, 4.15 per 90, ranks her in the top percentile of NWSL players. And this shows that she is a high volume shot taker, wants to get a lot of shots away at goal, and obviously this then converts into a high goal scoring output forward. And what we can see then is that non-paying goals 0.48 per 90, that ranks in 93rd percentile, and non-pen XG of 0.40 in the 89th percentile. So amongst positional peers, she's a fantastic shot taker and a fantastic goal scorer. Now, where her game slightly lets it down for me is that creativity, that chance creation and that passing for me. Progressive passes down at 1.74 per 90, that is incredibly low, 19th percentile amongst positional peers. And the concern will be is that I think it's a huge weakness of Rodman's game is her passing. Now, what I do wonder is whether she can adjust to Europe because of that. If she can come in where Europe is very possession oriented, if she can come in and be great with the ball at her feet, great at passing, and she can improve that side of her game, which I very much think she could do, then I think she'll fit in seamlessly. What I've noticed from the NWSL and analysing the game is that it's a lot more direct, the American League, than the European leagues are. So what will be the big adjustment for Rodman if she is to come to Europe, and we'll discuss those options later in this video, is that passing side of her game. Also, chance creation, 0.15 expected assists per 90, so she's overperforming that statistic slightly. And what will be concerning is that what you would tend to see with these high-performing players in sides who don't win the league every year, and I know Washington Spirit are an incredibly strong team, they reached the final this year, but you would expect to see her perhaps underperforming that because of her teammates. But, I mean, she is surrounded by some very good players, so perhaps that's why we see the assists slightly higher than the expected assists. Shot creating actions at a very nice 3.86 per 90, 87th percentile. Again, she's very good at getting shots away at goal, and she's a very direct player, is Trinity Rodman, and she's a top quality dribbler and ball carrier, probably her best asset. And if you look at those statistics at the bottom of the screen, progressive carries 3.28 per 90, that ranks her in the 81st percentile. Successful take-ons 2.03 per 90, 95th percentile, and touches in the attacking penalty area 6.08 per 90, 91st percentile. She's very good at carrying the ball up the field, and when she gets that final third, she's very good at taking players on and being very successful. And that is demonstrated perfectly in her heat map analysis. If we take a look at this heat map from Washington's 4-0 win over Houston earlier in the campaign, what we can see is that Rodman is very much a wide player. She wants to carry the ball down the line, she wants to operate down the line, very good at holding the width well, and I think in sides that want to be very possession dominant, you do tend to have wingers who are good at holding the width to allow those attacking midfielders to be a little bit more free roaming and creative and work in those pockets. So I think in terms of fitting into possession oriented sides, this definitely shows that she could do that. She's great as well, runs to the back post. If we look at this analysis, you can see those runs in towards the penalty area from this right-hand side. That's not only her carrying that ball into the penalty area, which we know she's very good at, but also her making those runs towards the back post. She can then receive the cross from the left-hand side. However, what this also shows us is that she's very one-dimensional. She doesn't tend to cut inside too often, and rather than taking the ball and carrying it inside, she tends to go out wide. And the concern here will be, is that too predictable? If you know that Rodman's very one-foot, and she is capable on her left foot to an extent, but it is weak compared to her right foot. If she's too one-dimensional, is she too easy to defend against? Now let's analyse some video footage to give that data a little more context. So this first clip comes from the game between the Courage and the Spirit, and what we get from this highlight is how Rodman is very skilled, but also some of those weaknesses to her game. So this is the 48th minute, and she receives the ball in this pocket here, in the wide space. And so what we can immediately notice is as this ball is coming into her, she's looking to receive it on her right foot immediately, with two players coming towards her. What she does really interestingly is she controls it with her right foot. Now, what I'd expect normally in this position, you can see where that space is going to open up. She wants to push forward. The smart thing to do here would be to push forward on the left foot. But instead, she pushes forward on the right laces. And now, this does the same thing. There's nothing inherently wrong with this. But what it does demonstrate is that one-dimensionality that I have been talking about. Now, what she does really well, it's really smart. She pushes the ball away, and actually by using her laces, perhaps she is able to push it away further, and this evades two players really easily. And now Rodman is in her element. She's able to drive forward with loads of space to work with. And as we see, she completely leaves the defender in the dust. Now comes the decision point because she's got to make the pass. And I actually think this is the wrong pass. I also don't think it's a very good pass. She's looking to either play it out wide here or play it down the line or keep carrying and look for these options on the left-hand side. Now, if we just look at those options on the right, the pass that she decides to play next is either too weak or too strong. We'll play it through now. She plays that pass. It's sort of between the two options. It doesn't run along enough for the striker to be able to take it in her stride, and it's sort of too heavy for the winger. Now, she kind of gets away with it. The winger does really well here, cuts inside and gets a good shot away. But I think decision-making there was a little bit poor from Trinity Rodman, but what we saw beforehand was that she's incredibly, incredibly talented. I also want to look at why she's an elite goal scorer. So we're going to go back to the game between Spirit and Seattle Reign, and she notches a brace in this match. We'll start with this moment from the 32nd minute. Now, Rodman's on the right-hand side here, and what we see is how that she's able to drift slowly inside to create this opportunity. So the ball progresses down this left-hand side. Now, watch Trinity Rodman. Seattle Reign is starting to come a little bit more narrow. I think the left centre half, to be honest, positioning isn't great here. They're doubling up on Sofia Cantore, the Washington striker. And this leaves an opportunity for Trinity Rodman because she's now isolated one-on-one against the fullback. So what they're able to do really intelligently here is that they draw the play across, and now this is a fantastic run and fantastic pass because Rodman times this perfectly. She has to stay on side here, so she actually runs on into a deeper position to stay on side before bursting then in behind, and she's able to meet this cross perfectly, and it's a really good finish to poke it past the goalkeeper, manages down side, and it's a really well-timed run and an excellent finish. And what we see here is her intelligence, how she's able to drift inside, how she's able to create that opportunity where she's one-on-one. Also how good Washington Spirit are to be able to create that overload on the right-hand side. But her game intelligence in that moment to create the one-on-one scenario and then be able to exploit it. And if we move forward in the same game, we can see Rodman scores again. And this clip actually gives us a few different examples of various skill sets of Trinity Rodman. So Seattle are trying to press the left-hand side. Washington are building up to the right-hand side here. The ball comes down the line into Trinity Rodman. Now, what I find really interesting is that a lot of wingers would look to immediately take this down the line. To be honest, I'm surprised Trinity Rodman doesn't. But what she does really intelligently here is she delays and she waits for this run to come down the line. And then what she does is because this space has been drawn out, we can immediately see she looks up and sees this pocket of space. It's a really good understanding here from Rodman of pitch geography, where players are in relation to herself, where the space is going to open up, and arriving at the right position at the right time. She does really well here to arrive on the edge of the penalty area at the right time, receives the pass well, and it's a first time finish, blasting it past the goalkeeper. And again, this speaks volumes about her technique. She's able to open up the body, strike around the ball, and this makes it really difficult for the goalkeeper who's expecting it to be a little bit more straight as it just curves away from the goalkeeper's grasp. So we've taken a look at what makes her such a great player, but what are her options for this winter window? Well, we'll start with the easiest one, and that is to stay at Washington Spirit. It's an environment that she's incredibly familiar with, it's somewhere that she can call home, and it gives her the chance to continue to grow her brand domestically, especially with a lot of American stars making the jump across the pond. And she's already the highest paid player in the NWSL, and you'd expect that if she is to renew her deal, given that she's probably the biggest asset to the league right now, she would get a very generous package. But there is a lot of interest from elsewhere, and I think the fact that she's been able to offer more money elsewhere, the fact that she'll be able to get a higher wage, the fact that she's always wanted to play in Europe as well, we'll discuss that option in a moment, and that she's already achieved pretty much everything she could in the NWSL, does make a move slightly more attractive right now. And the first public offer we've seen has come from a domestic rival, and this is from the USL Super League. Now, this is something we're not familiar with in Europe. In the European leagues, we have a very clear system where, because every league has promotion and relegation, you have a clear structure to the leagues. But in America, with the NWSL being a closed league, they've also got the USL Super League, and with no budget cap, no salary cap on those clubs, there's apparently been a very big offer from DC Power FC towards Trinity Rodman. Now, I understand that she could go there and grow the league as the main star. She could be the face of this new emerging league, but it is a huge career risk. This is an unestablished and low quality league at this stage, and there's no telling that she would be able to necessarily grow it to be as big or even bigger than the NWSL. So this would be a massive risk. Now, would she do this? Potentially. I don't see this though as realistically happening. I think that it's much more likely if she was going to stay domestically, she'll re-sign with the Spirit. So what about Europe then? Now, we've got a few different options to talk about in Europe, and we'll start with what I like to refer to as the Michelle Kang gang. Michelle Kang's consortium of clubs that are able to transfer players between themselves, and we've already seen a lot of moves between the two clubs. Specifically, we saw last summer a big move, Jordan Geraldes moved from Washington Spirit to OL Lyonnais. And so there is an opportunity that she could move between Kang clubs. She's been at the Spirit for the last 4 years. She could now move to a different Kang club. Now, that would leave two massive options: OL Lyonnais and the slightly roguer London City Lionesses. We'll start with the first one. Lyonnais are a fantastic side. She's played with Jonathan Geraldes before, and they're already one of the best teams in the world, but there's a lot of competition on that right wing. Kaladia Tautiani and Eula Brand are both fantastic players, so is there any room for another right winger in that squad? It would certainly be a fantastic addition, of course, for OL Lyonnais, but at what point do they have too many attackers? As for London City, well, she would have the chance to be the star player of the team. She'd probably be the highest player in the world. To be honest, she's going to be up there, whoever she signs for. But in terms of a side who could pay her that sort of money, you'd think that LCL would be the option. It's a very exciting project with huge potential, and London City would probably take a risk on those injury concerns. We haven't spoken about them yet in this video, but there has been a concern over her injury record in recent seasons. And if any club is going to take that punt, it's going to be London City. However, you would expect a lot of interest from the WSL. Reportedly, 3 WSL clubs are interested in Trinity Rodman. Now, there's been a lot of speculation as to who these clubs are. Personally, my prediction is that they are Arsenal, they are Chelsea and London City. I think Man City would be a very interesting one. I think she'd be much more suited to that style of play, but City have a lot of wingers already, and so I don't know if they'd necessarily go for her right now. I think, with Mary Fowler, with Kara Lynn, with Lauren Hemp, there's not really much room there for Trinity Rodman, especially with Iman Bene and Lily Murphy coming through as well. And Naomi Fujita, didn't even mention it. Manchester United probably couldn't afford her. They don't have any money. So in terms of being able to pay her a wage, it's going to be very difficult. I just don't see United being in that conversation. So for me, it's the 3 big clubs in London. And sorry to Tottenham fans and West Ham fans and Crystal Palace fans for that matter, but you're not in that conversation right now. London City have all the money, Arsenal have the big fan base and the aspirations, and Chelsea have all of the domestic success. So those are the 3 big clubs I think that will be in for it. Let's go to Arsenal then, because we spoke about London City. Arsenal, you're coming into the WSL. That is a big opportunity for her. They are a European competing side. You've got a USWNT teammate in Emily Fox, but there is already a lot of competition for those spots on Arsenal's wings. You've got Beth Mead, Olivia Smith, you've got Caitlin Ford, and you've got Chloe Kelly. And any potential rivals would block a pathway for the likes of Vivian Leah. And they've already seen Freya Godfrey leave, a player they probably shouldn't have let go because they've got too many wingers in their squad. So unless someone like me is going to leave next summer and you can stomach the fact you've got too many wingers for the next few months, I think it's just too much for Arsenal right now. And the fact that they'd probably have to make her their highest earner, I think would be something Arsenal wouldn't be keen to do right now. But they've got to consider themselves in that conversation. I just don't see Arsenal going for it right now, though I don't think it is the right fit. As for Chelsea, well, it's slightly different. Chelsea probably do have a bit of space in the squad on the right wing. It's a huge squad for Chelsea, but if there is a position where they are lacking slightly, I think it would be on that right wing, with Joanna Rytting-Kahnryd the only natural option on that flank, and with her contract up next summer. So I do think this could be the best option for her. I think it's a squad that could stomach her injury issues. You look at the Chelsea squad depth, the fact that Thompson can play on the right wing, the fact they've already got Joanna Rytting-Kahnryd, the fact that Beaver Jones can play on the right wing. They've got options who can play there. So they're not a side who, like London City, perhaps would be severely damaged by not having her. So I think Chelsea are a side who could nurse her back in the same way they are doing with Sam Kerr, and the same way you'd expect they'll do in the next few months with Lauren James and Naomi Girma. She's also got American teammates at the club, as I've just mentioned, Naomi Girma, but also Kat Macaro and Alyssa Thompson. And we can't really doubt how much an impact Emma Hayes could have in this conversation. We know Emma Hayes has been gently pushing American players to make the move across to Europe. We've already seen the likes of Lily Johannes signed for OL Lyonnais. I know she was already in Europe, but she's joined a big European club rather than coming across to the NWSL. We've also seen Alyssa Thompson make the move. We saw Naomi Gurman make the move not too long ago. Kat Macaro joined Emma Hayes at Chelsea not too long, or a few seasons ago. Now Emily Fox has come across from the US, and I think it's not long before we see more players make the move across to Europe. So I think that is going to be a very gentle push. And if you're asking Emma Hayes for advice, I don't think she's going to say go to Arsenal. So for me, there are two big options for Trinity Rodman, and that is Chelsea and that is London City. I'd say OL Lyonnais as well, because they are always going to be in that conversation, but I think that would be a really poor transfer for them. I don't think there's room in the squad to accommodate for Trinity Rodman. I'd also say, obviously, a club like Barcelona would always be considered, but given their financial difficulties, unless Alexis Putellas moves on, or Aitana Bonmatí moves on in January, which I just don't see happening, they can't afford her. Quite frankly, Barcelona can't afford her right now. So for me, it's going to be a move to the WSL. If Arsenal are going to move on Mead, they come back in the conversation. Or if they go, I think Mead is the only one out of their wingers who is move onable because they've just signed Kelly and Smith. I mean, maybe Caitlin Ford as well, but Ford is more of a left winger and Rodman's more of a right winger. So it really is Mead, for me, that's a stumbling block before Arsenal make that move. So I think Trinity Rodman's best options are Chelsea or London City. And for Rodman, it's a decision of, does she want to go to Chelsea and win titles and sort of be a bit part player or just another star in an already star-studded side? Or does she want to be the marquee player, the franchise player in that London City side? That for me is the big web. I also wouldn't be surprised if she stayed at Washington Spirit. So it's difficult to make a prediction at this stage. As a Chelsea fan, I'd absolutely love her to join Chelsea. I think that despite her injury records and a little bit of a weakness of her on playing off her left foot, I still think she's an immensely talented player. I actually thought, weirdly, that watching her reminded me of Joanna Ritten-Carnreid, but in a slightly different way. I mean, obviously her output is much higher, but in terms of the way that they dribble, in terms of the way they carry themselves, remarkably similar. So I think Rodman is just slightly more explosive. And in a league like the WSL, I think that could be absolutely key. So I think she would fit in wonderfully at Chelsea. I wouldn't be surprised if she joined London City, just because they're a club who could take that risk and will probably offer her an even bigger wage than Chelsea can, because they've got huge ambitions, don't they? I mean, we've already seen that in the last summer. So it's going to be a fascinating saga that I'm sure is going to roll on through all of December and then into January. But one club is going to get Trinity Rodman this summer, and that is a very exciting proposal. So that is everything for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content, and get involved in the comments down below and let me know where you think Trinity Rodman is headed. That is everything. If you want to watch more, there'll be a video on screen now where I analyse what Alyssa Thompson brings to Chelsea and why she is such a talented player. So go and check that out if you're interested in more American stars coming to the NWSL. That is everything. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.